Another day of work here, just putting in the prep. At week 10 here, you kind of start to just have your process, have your routine, and execute it. I think it's so important, though, that each week is fresh, that you don't start going through motions, but that you show up and you have an edge to your preparation just like you would any other week. When you get to the guts of the season, it's so important that you're playing your best football, but that you're also preparing your best each week too. So just have to continue to maintain our edge every single day as we move towards Sunday, and was reminded of that again today. But I will take any questions you may have.
Kurt, the walkthrough Wednesday, how's that being received?
Yeah.
How was it to be able to,
Yeah.
just come out and do, mental sharp, just preparations going through your walkthrough as opposed to, a regular practice?
Yeah, it's well received. I remember as a rookie, Coach Shanahan, as the year went on, began to work walkthroughs in more often. And as a college player, that was my only background was college. I always thought, more is more, and that to go full speed is the only way. And so it surprised me at first as a rookie that we would do so many walkthroughs, but then I realized how fresh we were in December and January and how much better we were playing. And also mentally, when you're going walkthrough pace, you cover more plays in a shorter amount of time. So the ability to talk through things and rep things, there's a lot of value there. It's a trade-off. Certainly there's benefits to going full speed as well, but you just can't get the volume done that we could. So that's where, again, though, tomorrow when you do get the full speed reps, those reps carry that much more importance to really get things covered and make sure you get a good look and make sure you're talking through those plays. But I think you can really benefit yourself not just today or this week, but as you move later into the season, you can benefit from some of the days where you're not piling on the physical demands.
And over the course of the season, how would you say the offensive lines, pass, or the whole units, pass protection has evolved?
Yeah, I think they've done a really solid job. Been very pleased with the pockets I've had. I think you all have seen on some critical plays in the last 2 weeks, 2 of our touchdown passes. It was a pretty, spacious pocket that I was getting back to the backside of the progression in both cases. And you can only do that when your protection is as sound as it was. We do ask a lot of them in protection. It's a difficult job. They're not going to bat 1,000, but they've done a really good job of answering that challenge week after week.
How often, this is a hard thing to quantify, I'm sure, are you able to get to your third or even fourth progression on a play?
I think it happens. It happens more than you may think. I think if 1 or 2 are open, no reason not to stick with them. But the minute you feel like 1 or 2 are dicey, you got to progress. And sometimes you can get through your progressions very quickly. Just the coverage kind of tells you before the ball's even in your hand. Sometimes, hey, this is going to be tough to get to what may be down the field, and I can progress quickly. Which again, I'm trying to help our offensive line by doing that and progressing quickly and not asking them to hold on forever. There's other moments where you feel like, hey, I see the coverage, is a certain way, but if I can manipulate it, then maybe I can get number 1 open, even though, the built-in part of the coverage is going to take it away. So you try to play that game, but not get too cute. And you're just always trying to get better at, should I stay with 1? Should I get backside to 3? Could I have used shoulders and eyes to get number 1 open? And that's quarterbacking. That's why training camp in my 13th year is so important, and those full speed reps are so important because you're always trying to fine tune that.
How have you seen Zac Robinson kind of evolve over the first 9 weeks as a first-year play caller?
Well, I think more than Zac evolving, I think it's more us as players better understanding through experience what Zac wants us to look like and what he's expecting from us. And going against different defenses with a variety of looks has also enabled us to see what it should look like in different settings. When you play the same defense in training camp, you're kind of getting better and better at one way of doing it. And so that time on task together, I think, helps us all get on the same page, and probably him to us, but also us players to him, of hearing what we want or what we like, or him being able to just observe, okay, Darnell does this really well, Drake does this really well, Kirk does this well, let's try to accentuate that. So we keep building together, and the longer you work together, the more that happens, and that's when I think you can really start to finish each other's sentences, and that's when it gets really fun playing together because of the way you have such good continuity.
Right, your first time playing with the first time play caller.
It's my 5th. It's 5 more than I would have liked. Yeah.
So what's that learning curve like? Just
Yeah.
from the experience, and how quickly do things kind of come together?
Yeah, I've had 9 play callers in 13 years, and 5 of them were first-time play callers. So it's a lot of change. I've been fortunate, though, in the case of really all 9, they were all very capable. And it's a big deal having a strong play caller who has a good football mind and is a good balance of having an identity while also being willing to innovate. And finding that balance is a real challenge as a play caller to say, okay, we're going to hang our hat on this, but we can't just do this over and over and over again. And then you get coaches who only want to innovate, and you start to get frustrated because you say, who are we? What's our identity? What's our calling card when the game's on the line? So being able to have both is critical to being successful, and that's difficult for any play caller to find that balance. But I think it starts with, are they a good football mind? Are they creative? Do they communicate well? And I think Zac has all that in spades, and he's a great listener as well. He also does a good job being very direct. You want to know where you stand, and there's not a lot of mystery there for Zac. I think his communication with me has been very sound in terms of just letting me know, you need to do this better, or you did that well, and it's very direct and clear, and that's important for me. I just try to give him feedback when I can. Hey, I like this. Can we get more of this? Or, hey, I didn't feel as comfortable there. Why was that? Or, if I'm uncomfortable with that, should we take it out? And that communication back and forth is important. But I've also learned in my years, Mark, that there's times where I may be uncomfortable with something, but I'm the one who's jacked up. So I need to sort of get on their page because the plan is good. And just because I may not understand it doesn't mean that I'm in the right. So many times it's, okay, help me better understand that so I can go out and execute it well. And then you look back and you say, okay, I'm so glad I listened and applied it because it is a really good play. And if I had just shut it down at first, I would have missed out on some success. So we keep building that continuity. And as you do that, I think good things can happen.
What challenges does it present facing a team that now it has an interim head coach?
Yeah.
Where he says they're trying to now get that spark.
Yeah.
Trying to come after you. So what challenges does it present on your end?
So in my experience, just observing in the league, when that happens, a coach is replaced, I believe the team plays very well the following week, in my experience. And so I see it as a real challenge that we've been thrown, is they're going to be emotionally and mentally at their best, and then playing at their place. So there's a lot of factors coming together where you feel like, we have to be at our best to have a chance to get a win. And that's just kind of what I sense.
In 2020, when Raheem, his first interim head coach, as an interim head coach, they played against you.
They sure did, and they kicked our tails. I think I threw an interception on the first play of the game, and they never really looked back. We came back in the second half and did some positive things, but it was too little too late. And so I'm very aware of that and how it can galvanize a team, when there's a change that's made.
Going back to what Josh was talking about earlier in getting through your progressions, was a good example of that in the game, your touchdown pass to Ray Ray?
It was. That was so backside that we weren't even expecting him to be an option. But you just kind of play. And, again, it goes back to protection. If we're not holding up so long, you're never going to get back to that. It was the fact that I had so much time that I could progress. And the Dallas defense also did a good job of sort of pushing coverage to where I was trying to throw the football. And that's where you say they did a good job because they're sort of sensing where the ball should be going to. And Ray did a great job just kind of staying alive. And then the pocket allowed me to get to him. And it was one of those results where you're like, not how we drew it up, but we'll take it.
We were talking last week about your running backs and that sometimes you look over at them or see them in your periphery and they're always on,
Yeah.
always know what's expected of them. When you have guys like that, especially a Bijan Robinson who can kind of do everything,
Right.
pass protection, like we're talking about, how beneficial is that?
I love it.
as a quarterback?
I love it. I made a call. We were backed up last week on a third down. We made a call on protection off of a certain look. And the second I made the call, Bijan hops up, gets right to where he needs to be. No waste of time. Buys me. The play clock was running down. I think I snapped it with under a second left. And so, with his sense of urgency, I make the call. There's no questions asked. He gets right to his spot, knows what to do, blocks it up. I'm backed up, so he's got to make that blocker as a safety. and we get the ball out, and Mooney converts to third down, and you just feel like that's what a strong operation is able to do. Is it's just, discipline, detail and execution of just what needs to be done, and that's what I expect from my teammates, expect from our running backs. But you also know it's hard, and they've done a great job answering the challenge all year.
I was just looking at the game. How do you view their defense from, they didn't allow a touchdown. Y'all won.
That's right.
With some
That's right.
some good plays there and field goal at the end. But how do you view the defense and how they're involved? You want to see Latimer, I guess.
Well, I think we didn't have Demario Davis last time, and he's back, and he's been such a leader for their defense and a great player for so long that you understand the challenge he presents, and then on the road, and then the fact that we didn't score an offensive touchdown last time, and then the fact that in that 2-minute drill we really benefited from the DPI more than we did from our own execution. And so for so many reasons, you say this is a defense that is really solid. They gave us a challenge last time. They've got some players coming back, and as a result, it all kind of comes together to say, hey, we got to be on at our absolute best to have a chance. And Coach Woods, Joe Woods, who likely would call the defense, it would seem, he's a guy who, going back my years playing him, does a great job and is a challenge as well. So for all those reasons, it's another NFL Sunday football game that is going to take your absolute best.
You've already filled a lot of questions this season about how many targets you have to get the ball to, and now in back-to-back weeks, Bijan has had 7 catch games. What does that add for this offense to have him in that, all-purpose role?
Yeah, I think he has natural hands. So first of all, when the ball comes his way, he's very natural at catching the football and transitioning to a runner. And then it's funny because it's a mixture of plays where he may be the design target on a certain play, but then others he's getting the ball and he's, I think there's one of the earliest plays in the game, might have been the second play of the game. I swung it out to him. He's really fifth in the progression. I was just kind of clicking across and felt the rush closing in and kicked it out to him. And so sometimes it's not designed to get in the ball, but that's where the play and the flow of the game just dictates it. And what he's doing so well that is difficult to coach, it's difficult to find, is making the first person miss. And that can be in the run game, it can be in the pass game, but there have been plenty of times this year where I kick it out to him, and if the first person makes the tackle, it's a gain of 1. If the first person misses, it can be a gain of 8 or 9. And oftentimes he's turned that into an 8 or 9 yard gain. And that's where you feel like it's more players than plays in that moment. And we feel fortunate to have him.
Kirk, go ahead.
Going back to how many different first-time play callers you've had in your career, how much has that challenged you as a quarterback and helped you evolve throughout your career?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's been fun to sort of build something together. I think when you play with someone who's called plays for 20 years, there's not much you're building together. It's more their show and you're executing it. I think when Sean McVay in 2015 was going to call plays for the first time, you sort of feel like you're watching him build it and you're a part of that. And so it's just it's a fun deal to be a part of, especially when you feel like you have someone who has a high ceiling as a play caller, and that's certainly true with Zac. So, I want to play really well together, but I also know that if we play really, really well together, I'm probably going to be on my 6th or my 10th play caller, or maybe my 6th first-time play caller. That tends to be how it's worked out in my career when you do a good job. So we'll see how that all plays out.
Kirk, during the fourth quarter of the Dallas game, you completed a short pass to Bijan. I noticed you were using what looked like sign language to indicate changes. You made a sign that means glasses or goggles. How often are you forced from audible to non-audible communications?
Yeah, it happens many times. And we often have to change our signals because if we feel like the signal gets on tape, we have to make sure we're changing it so defenses can't get a beat on what's coming. So that's the game within the game. But we certainly use all that we can, especially in a game like the Superdome with the noise we'll have on Sunday. We have to be so good with our verbal but also our nonverbal communication and make sure everybody's understanding what has to happen, even if they can't hear what I'm saying.
This is going to sound weird, but first time.
Good premise. Good premise.
Are you just growing it out because it's the fall, the beard?
The beard.
Yeah.
I can go on about the beard too. Now that you teed me up. So the beard, I tend to not grow it as much in the off season. That's kind of been my rhythm. During the season, I tend to have a little more of a beard. Just it's a mind state you kind of have to go to. I think my wife says she likes the beard. She kind of always has the trump card, so she likes the beard. And then I do try to keep it somewhat trimmed. Steve Benjamin, our registered dietitian here, after we beat the Eagles, he came up to me. His beard's, here like Santa Claus, and he said, Kirk, we're 1-1 as a football team, but he said the beard is 1-0 for you because I didn't have the beard as much against the Steelers. So ever since then, I've kind of taken Steve's advice and tried to keep the beard a little bit. But yeah, that's my soapbox on the beard, I guess. There it is. My brother's jealous of my beard. He thinks mine's better than his, so that's also fun to kind of rub it in his face, literally and figuratively. Pardon the pun.
Do Zac and McVay have similarities as play callers?
Zac and Sean. So Zac's, was 5 years with Sean or 4 years with Sean, whatever it was. So I think that time on task together, there's moments where Zac will use a vernacular. There's a word for you. He'll use a vernacular that I say, well, that came from Sean McVay. I remember Sean saying that in 2014. So that's kind of fun to have those throwbacks. But I think it's fun. I think it's fun that I was able to work with Sean, and then Zac worked with Sean. And so there's moments where he or I will bring up something, and the other person will know, that's coming from Sean. That's not coming from you, because we both have that experience and that background. But just the football mind, the ability to innovate, be creative, and the ability to kind of, understand how you're trying to build something and be organized, but at the same time be innovative. I think they both have. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Kirk.